Good evening, and welcome to our 2018 Sault Ste. Marie Candidates Debate for Ward 2 Councillor. Tonight's debate is being held here in Shingwak Auditorium of Algoma University. We wish to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Anishinaabe Nation, and we also acknowledge that we are on sacred lands. And through the vision and leadership of Chief Shingwak, we are on trust land set aside for the purpose of education. My name is Trevor Cheer. I'm Assistant Professor of Political Science at Algoma University, and I'll be acting as the moderator for tonight's debate. As part of their ongoing commitment to our local community, Algoma University, Sault Today, and Shaw TV have partnered to present tonight's event. We would like to run through the format for tonight's debate. All candidates on the ballot for the October 22 election were invited to take part tonight. Seating and question order for the candidates was decided by a random draw prior to tonight's broadcast. Similarly, questions and their order were decided before tonight's broadcast and prior to the candidates' draw, so the first respondent to each question was decided on luck of the draw. Questions were derived from public surveys administered by Sault Today. Questions will be posed tonight by students currently enrolled in political science courses or law and justice courses at Algoma University. Thank you to Helen Leiden and Bailey Malmaloff. Once a question has been posed, each candidate will have 60 seconds response time. This will be followed by a 30-second right of response from the initial respondent. With each new question, a different candidate will respond first. When you hear the warning, we ask that candidates wrap up in under 10 seconds. At the end of 10 seconds, your mic will be turned off. I would like to remind all candidates of a few ground rules. Profanity and interrupting candidates who have the mic will not be tolerated. At any point, I may request a candidate stay on topic. At the outset of the debate, each candidate will have 90 seconds to provide opening remarks. At the end of our debate, each candidate will have 1 minute to provide closing remarks. We would like to thank and welcome the candidates who are joining us this evening. DJ Thine, Jason Young, Lisa Vezo-Allen, Luc Dufour, Sam Sistero, and Ted Halen. Lou Turco could not be here tonight and sent his regrets. At this point, we invite opening remarks from our candidates. You each have 90 seconds. We will begin with DJ Thine.
Hey everybody, thank you for having us, sir. So my name is DJ Thine. I am fully invested into the ward. I am fully invested into this city. I love this city. In the ward itself, though, I do own 2 businesses. I have both of my young daughters who go to school and daycare in the ward. I own 4 properties. I live in the ward. I rent in the ward. I am knee-deep in the ward. I know exactly what we're facing every day to day, and that goes from downtown right through to the brinks of it. I would like to make note that I also own a free preschool soccer league, which I do free for the kids in the city. Over 400 kids this year I provided free soccer to, 2 to 4-year-olds, based on a nonprofit and sponsorships of other people. The important thing that I have to say is that when the city tells you no, I'm willing to advocate for you. I'm willing to fight for you, and the city needs somebody to fight for them. I've been told no a lot of times in my life. We need to start saying yes and finding ways to get things to happen. That's good.
Jason Young.
The greatest reward of this campaign has been the privilege to meet and talk with the people of Ward 2. In the next 90 seconds, I could tell you about my experience as a high school teacher, my work as an industrial manager, my college education, my university degrees. I could tell you about boards I've sat on, groups I've worked with, and projects I've been a part of, successes I've facilitated. At the start of my campaign, I thought that those were the things that people wanted to know about. And what I've learned from knocking on doors and talking to people is those things don't really matter. They don't matter to the family on Wellington Street whose basement is overrun with rats. It doesn't matter to the senior on Lidstent who can't get out of her driveway when the snowplow goes by. It doesn't matter to the fellow on Queen who can't get to work early enough on the bus. And it doesn't matter to the grandmothers in Jamestown who no longer have a picnic table in the park to knit at. I'm lucky to live in the best ward in Sault Ste. Marie. From West Street to Black Road, our economic, ethnic, and cultural diversity broadens our experiences and enriches the community. We're the builders, the makers, the managers, and the educators. We are the past and we are the future. We are what matters. My commitment is to serve all of us. I will pick up my phone, I will listen, and I will bring your voice to City Hall.
Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out tonight. And what I want to do is talk about why I am running. What possessed me to go up those City Hall steps, put my name on the ballot, and get those 25 signatures and pay my, I think it was $100, and go through campaigning. I love the door knocking. I love talking to people in the community. But really, the personal reason why I'm running is because I have a 15-year-old with autism. Our city does not do well for people with disabilities. We have over 1,000 children that we serve at Thrive Children's Center, which was Children's Rehab. I was 7 years on the foundation board. Those 1,000 children have families that are struggling. Youth and children with disabilities become adults with disabilities. I want to see inclusion, I want to see opportunity, I want to see welcoming, and I want to be the voice on City Council for those that don't have one. Not just people with disabilities, but also marginalized communities, people living in poverty. There's a whole segment of our community that does not have a formal voice on City Council. And that's why I'm running, is I plan to be that advocate, that voice, and create inclusion. And I also want to acknowledge the Children of Singwalk Alumni Association for allowing us into this sacred place. And I used to walk these hallways as a student here, and I appreciate and am in awe of the project that they've done.
Thank you. Luc Dufour.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Luc Dufour, and I believe that I am the candidate before you tonight who has the energy and the experience to get things done. My generation and I are the people of Sault Ste. Marie who are buying houses, paying down mortgages, growing companies, and starting families. When it comes to the future of our city, we're in the unique position to have both the most to gain and the most to invest in the future growth of our city. I am here to simply ask you for a seat at the table where the decisions that will affect the future of our city are going to be made. For the last 9 years, I've been part of the management team at JL Builders. We've expanded our sales and workforce every year that we've been in operation and are a strong example that small businesses are still able to start and grow right here in Sault Ste. Marie. To continue this growth, our city needs people on council who understand how to do quality work for the right price. During my previous campaigns for City Council, I successfully advocated for the appointment of a City Councillor to the Downtown Association Board, also for vacancy rebate tax reform, and 4-year capital forecasting across all city departments. By standing up for smart, specific, and achievable goals, I have shown that I have the experience and the energy to deliver results for the people of Ward 2.
Sam Sestero.
Good evening. Bonjour ce soir. Bonjour. Thank you, Algoma University, for hosting this event tonight. Residents of Ward 2, you have the power to hire and fire. And that's what you will be doing on October the 22nd. This has been a 2-month job interview for us. I've shown you in these 2 months through my television ads, my social media campaign, my message at the ground games, street festivals, and going door to door what my credentials are and what I can bring to this important role. I am a small business owner on Queen Street, and just like I said in my commercial, I support downtown. That's where I eat, shop, bank. I've built relationships with all of the merchants on Queen Street. I currently sit on 5 different city committees: PRAC, the Splash Pad, Sports Hall of Fame, Best for Kids, and Walk of Fame. I sit on 2 committees at the provincial level with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. My opinion, problem-solving skills, and enthusiasm have been described as refreshing. For 4 years, the residents of Sault Ste. Marie always say they want change. Well, let's give them change. What troubles me is that there are councillors that have been there for such a long period of time that have gotten complacent, and they're not fulfilling their duties to the residents of Ward 2.
Thank you. Ted Halen.
Good day, bonjour, bonjour. I'm a construction worker now. I started in Algoma Steel many years ago, put in 10 years, and I was astounded by the problems that they had. And a lot of people there know me as a fighter. And I've been fighting for causes for citizens here in Sault Ste. Marie for the last 50 years. What shocked me this last winter was a woman that was trapped on the roadway, and she couldn't get across the street at rush hour because of the snowbanks. And I helped her across the road, stopped the traffic, and I realized that the sidewalks weren't being plowed on that side of the street. There's a bus stop there, not being plowed. There are other services that aren't being done here properly. We don't have a proper system for filling potholes. We've got all kinds of problems here in town. We have a boat on the waterfront that the city council wants to get rid of. And it's turning into a tourist attraction now. People are reactivating. We've got drug problems in the city. And I'm asking for your support for Ward 2. And I think I can do a good job. I've worked hard and made some successes throughout the years.
Thank you. We now invite the first question to our Ward 2 candidates.
What will you do to help improve Sault Ste. Marie's economy, create more jobs, and make the city an attractive place to do business?
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of that sentence.
Sorry.
The
What will you do to help improve Sault Ste. Marie's economy, create more jobs, and make the city an attractive place to do business?
Thank you. So I think the answer to this question is actually rather simple, and I think it has many multiple benefits to us. I think it starts with tourism. We have uncapped potential on our tourism industry, primarily in the downtown district. And in order to facilitate that, we have many, as it was brought up earlier, empty buildings. We have lots of vacant land, lots of space to do that with. This will encourage both economic growth by taking money from other cities when these people are here traveling, as opposed to just recirculating the money that we have within ourselves already. It'll give us more jobs, whether they be part-time or temporary or full wages or big wages or whatever. But more jobs, more growth, more stability in our structures, and I want to start that all by lowering corporate or industrial taxes if I can get that to pass. I am unfortunately only one vote out of the 10 votes on the council, but I wish to make that movement. I think that it'll also get more people involved in the downtown, which will push the less savory individuals further away to try to get away from the group of people.
Thank you. Jason Young.
Oh, I'm sorry. As a member of council, we're limited in what we actually have the power to do. In terms of attracting business, I believe that we have to ensure that our zoning is flexible, that we support programs like the EDC, and do the best we can with the resources we have. The need to be responsible with our finances is going to become prevalent over the next few years. And I think that there needs to be a focus on taking care of the people that are both paying in, the businesses in the city, and taking care of the people who are paying the taxes so that they get good value for their money.
Thank you. Lisa Zoellen.
Thank you for the question. So economy, job creation, and making the Sault Ste. Marie an attractive place to live really falls under different organizations of which City Council can advise and direct. We have our Economic Development Corporation, we have the Millworks at the Mill Square, we have the Downtown Association, and it's really about diversifying as far as creating jobs. While I know manufacturing is very traditional to Sault Ste. Marie and really important, I just moved back from 3 years from Boulder, Colorado, where I saw an emerging insurgence of knowledge-based industry. I would like to see more knowledge-based industry initiatives come into the city. I would also see more emphasis on nonprofit. There's no reason for us not to have a nonprofit center of excellence for Northern Ontario. We're in the perfect location. We're seeing some of that happen with social enterprise groups coming in. And as part of beautifying downtown, I think it would be a great place for some of those empty spots to be co-ops. Nonprofit is my expertise, and we need to have people in those empty spaces to build our economy.
Thank you. Luc Dufour.
When it comes to creating economic development and seeing Sault Ste. Marie as a place to invest, I think that the EDC still certainly has to play a role there. I think that I'd like to see more capital financing being made available through the EDC for businesses. I think that we continue to have vacant land that is a problem on the downtown and the waterfront, and I would like to see some leadership from the city to be able to look at different ways that audits could be completed in order to attract new businesses to these areas. As far as making Sault Ste. Marie a more attractive place to live, I certainly support the Bay Street beautification project. I think that that's going to be a very important opportunity in order to reconnect our downtown to the waterfront and to have a more attractive place for the tourists coming off of the cruise ships.
Thank you. Sam Sestero.
Our economy is not in great shape, and some of you don't want to hear that, but it's true. 20% of residents in Algoma receive financial assistance. 78% of our labor force is in the service industry. These aren't jobs or incomes that are going to help build the city. So we have to bring in new companies, and we need to network to do so. We need to be ambassadors of our brand. Tough decisions are going to have to be made. This is not the time to vote someone in because they're nice. This is the time to vote someone in that has the experience and leadership skills to move forward, to unify a group. Someone that sees both sides of an argument and can make an unbiased decision. Someone that shows up to council meetings. Without that, Sault Ste. Marie is just going to keep going rudderless.
Thank you. Ted Halen.
Sault Ste. Marie has some huge industries here, and there are lots of jobs associated with them. Over the years, other industries have been discouraged from coming here. Something to do with competition, and other businesses have just been turned down. We have an industrial park, we have areas that have been readied for people coming in, and there are many industries all throughout the city here that pay good wages. And the base of it is our union, and we have very strong unions here in town, and our employees that work for the city are also basically unionized. If we can, with the $14 an hour minimum wage, a lot of the workers on the bottom end are going to have better economic opportunities, and that helps the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to DJ Thine.
I think that, again, lowering the taxes, as Ted is getting towards, we haven't made a very appeasing situation for bigger businesses to want to come here. We attacked the Norgoma, we attacked the Spruce Haven Zoo, and whether we agree or disagree to have those people here, businesses are seeing the way we treat them. And more importantly, we have the highest corporate or industrial taxes are very close to it. We need to give them some kind of a break to come here.
Thank you. We now invite the second question for our Ward 2 candidates.
What will you do to revitalize downtown Sault Ste. Marie and the waterfront?
We'll begin with Jason Young.
The downtown of Sault Ste. Marie is getting a lot of attention in these debates, and we definitely have seen the traditional downtown core erode over the years. We've discussed with some of the other people on the panel here that I remember, crowds of people coming out of the movie theaters. I think that the entrepreneurs of the city, though, are doing a fantastic job with what they have, and maybe we don't often give them enough credit. Of course, we have capital we have to do. We have to keep the roads in good repair and the sidewalks in good repair. We have to take care of the assets of the city down there. I think, though, that ultimately the revitalization of the downtown comes to the people in the city going there. And if we go there, it will make it a revitalized place.
Thank you. Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Thank you. In looking at the downtown, one of the biggest issues, and I was a small business owner, is funding. So NOHFC, Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation, does have business expansion and business startup funding. However, it's very much determined by sector development. A lot of that is manufacturing, mining, ecosystems, and things like that. If you wanted to open up a coffee shop, or if you wanted to open up a small retail shop, you do not fall within those guidelines. As City Council, we can lobby to create change in those funding sectors to help people actually own downtown businesses. So that's number one. With our waterfront, we need to have things there for families. We need to have a playground. I was in Wellington, Ontario, which is much smaller than Sault Ste. Marie this summer, and has a beautiful playground on the waterfront. That's just the beginning. We also need places for people to buy a cup of coffee and things like that. We need to make it a destination, and that also comes into that funding model.
Thank you. Luc Dufour.
Well, first off, I'd like to say that I think the city has taken some great strides in the downtown in the last 4 years. I think that City Council's streamlining of things like the patio process for bars and restaurants downtown has been great, and I'd really like to see the relationship continue to grow closer between the city and the Downtown Association. As far as specific projects that I would like to see to revitalize the downtown, again, I'd like to point to the Bay Street Beautification Project, which I think is a very strong project. I think because it does reconnect the downtown and the waterfront, it can pose just some really great benefits for us. I think that if we look at kind of some of the ways that we've seen some of the money be spent downtown, I personally would like to see a moratorium put on the pay and display parking meters, of which we've spent nearly $600,000 on in the past 4 years, and I'd like to see that money put towards things like the Bay Street project.
Thank you. Sam Sestero.
I'm a small business owner downtown, and I've spoken with other small business owners. We have to go back to two ways on Queen Street. That's essential. Right now, people are coming off the International Bridge, they're going down an ugly Bay Street, and they're leaving the downtown core. If they come up Queen Street into two ways, now they can stop and see what the downtown has to offer. The Downtown Association has lobbied and fought hard for the small business owners, and I would be honored to sit on their board as a city council member. We also have to get away from paid parking and go to free parking. Sell the technology that was implemented before it becomes outdated. We need to lobby for the heritage designation that our downtown was planned to have. And we need to make it safe again for the residents of.
Thank you. Ted Halen.
We have a problem with people trying to get to work on time. They avoid taking the city buses. It would save an immense amount of money for every citizen if we could provide a transit system that was reliable and was 365 days a year and had a long enough time that everybody could get to work and get home again without having to buy an expensive car, put insurance on it, and pay for all kinds of depreciation on a vehicle. Some people have up to 3 cars, and you wouldn't have to have all these extra vehicles, and you would have an immense amount more money that you could spend right here in Sault Ste. Marie. We have all kinds of things that we could do in the downtown, including encouraging having people put homes in the downtown and spreading out
Thank you.
building projects outside of the city.
Thank you. DJ Thine.
I go back to the tourism industry again, not solely. I think any kind of draw. If we can get people drawn downtown, a lot of our answers will solve themselves. Right now, I'm pretty sure anybody in here knows that we have a giant opioid crisis going on downtown. If we can not push those people away, but make it so that they are less comfortable in the spot that they are in, they may retreat elsewhere, or at least make it easier for us to make that more presentable for our businesses and whatnot. I also believe that the tourism industry developing things like an aquarium, like I see people on Facebook all the time, they got pictures with their sharks and everything else. This is an easy one. We have the resources here. We have a giant old Sears building we can put this into. Any kind of a draw. I used to be a cab driver for 3 years, And the amount of people complaining that there was nothing to keep them here or anything for them to do, they were leaving their families, and some of them were just visiting through, but they never wanted to come back. And we got to change that. That'll give us the money to do else.
Thank you. We will now give a 30-second right of response to Jason Young.
I would like to draw attention again to the Bay Street Revitalization Project. I think that linking the waterfront to Queenstown through the Bay Street project is a fantastic idea. It's going to address a number of concerns around access to the waterfront that many members of our community have. I would like to object to the idea of turning Queen Street back to two-way. I think it's a waste of money.
I'll now invite the third question for our Ward 2 candidates.
What will you do to ensure a reasonable minimum standard of living for people in your ward, including income security, access to affordable quality housing, and food security?
We'll begin with Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Currently, 16% of our population aged 18 to 64 lives at a low income level. That definitely is an issue. 22% of kids aged 5 to 18 live in poverty as well. I was just at the Boston Street Hub today, and we definitely need to do something. There was a little boy that said, all we need is a basketball net. They have a tennis court that doesn't get used. There's a playground, and Boston Street is full of kids that just want to play basketball. So the other piece is, well, services are in place, such as housing and DSAB, is we really need to have some grassroots involvement with our neighborhoods. And that is happening. It's not that it's not. We also need to have, as far as absentee landlords and the issues with infractions, that is a provincial thing. It's the Ontario Building Code, but we can maybe see what we can do to make those infractions happen and those buildings become.
Thank you. Luc Dufour.
I think one of the biggest things that City Council can do to ensure a minimum standard of living for our residents is to really begin advocating quite hard to resurrect the basic income pilot that was recently canceled. I was personally very dismayed at the cancellation of this project because for me, one of the big keys was that under the basic income pilot, people who were on social assistance were allowed to work minimum wage jobs without losing the security of their subsidies. And when I go door to door knocking in places like Sault Ste. Marie Social Housing, that's one of the big things that I hear from people is that they do wish they could work. And it's really frustrating to then go talk to recruiters who are at job placement agencies downtown who say that we can't fill all of the minimum wage jobs that people are looking for. Even just this past week, McDonald's was coming here to the university to recruit students to work there. I think that getting a basic income pilot going is going to help solve these structural issues.
Thank you. Sam Sistero.
I see my role as a liaison to listen and to support. I could be appointed to the Social Services Board comprised of councillors and civic partners. I agree with the basics of this committee. They expand the access to affordable housing, they enhance support services, they engage in ongoing planning. I will support all the other agencies as well when they come looking for funding, the LIN, Algoma Public Health, Canadian Mental Health Association, Sioux Area Hospital, Algoma Family Services. I've got your back. Also, with regards to transportation, people living below the poverty line should have access to affordable buses. So if not free for all those individuals, let's charge them $20 a month. At that point in time, they can get from point A to point B without having to choose.
Thank you. Ted Halen.
I think it's very important to, as Luke had pointed out, that we try to reinstate this support program for the province. We also need more housing downtown, and the past council has encouraged or allowed housing developments beyond our service line, which eventually eats up millions of dollars in services, and the council doesn't have enough money to do other programs. I think we can support the people who are on lower incomes. We have the neighborhood drop-in center there on Gore Street, and we have other facilities right across the city. And I think it's important that we bolster everybody that we have in our community.
Thank you. DJ Thine.
I think that the easiest answer would be for us to work together with the developers, because as a city council, it has unfortunately had a history of putting walls between things being done and not getting done. Unfortunately, to just solve those problems, I don't believe city council has the authority to do that. Most of that would be on an upper level from city council. But we can lobby, we can ask, we can probably make municipal bylaws to help and aid in the right direction. But as far as just fixing the problem, there are provincial and federal laws that are more in place, and we don't have the jurisdiction to change all of that.
Thank you. Jason Young.
I think that our city has the ability to get behind people in need. We've demonstrated that we are a giving community and that we do stand together. The grassroots organizations in the city are doing a fantastic job, and I don't think you'll talk to anybody from any one of those organizations who says that they have enough money or that they have enough support. City council can advocate for as much as we can, and our goal is to get vision on that, to bring the problems out in the open so that people have an opportunity to see what the marginalized people of the city are experiencing, and perhaps maybe then as a community we can take action that will involve everybody, that will get everybody involved.
Thank you. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Thank you. So regarding food security, there is a lot of movement happening in our community. United Way has a new food depot as well. There's a grassroots organization called Connect the Dots that is donating food. The other issue when you're looking at both housing and income, while there is that basic income support, some people just can't go to work, whether it's because they just don't have, they may suffer from mental illness, they may suffer from a disability. So while the basic income support works for some, it doesn't work for all, and housing is definitely an issue. Very much a holistic approach.
Thank you. I'd now invite our fourth question for our Ward 2 candidates.
What will you do to help provide public safety and crime prevention in your ward and across Sault Ste. Marie?
Begin with Luc Dufour.
I would say that property crime is probably one of the #1 issues that I hear about going door to door. And in the neighborhood, it's also something that I've experienced personally. I think that having talked to a lot of the neighbors in the ward, I think that some of the town halls that were organized by the incumbent councillors who are retired or moved to other wards, I think that was a really helpful way in order to help citizens actually connect with the police and to feel that their concerns have been heard. I think that I was very encouraged personally, again, having been a victim of property crime, by Chief Stevenson's recent comments, just actually starting to name and address the problem of having a catch and release system, and calling out all organizations to start to work together to ensure that, that people are kept safe.
Thank you. Sam Sestero.
2 weeks ago, we were interviewed in the Sioux Star, and one of the recommendations that I made was that we have a satellite police station located right on Queen Street. Well, today, it was announced that the city police will be coming downtown and will be creating a satellite police station, though it's at the Station Mall. So that's a very good start, but I would still like to have that conversation with the chief, just to give him my side of things. It's definitely going to assist in shortening times to get to crimes. It's going to also just deter people with the presence of police cars in the area.
Thank you. Ted Halen.
I think all of us have had some difficulty with property crime, and a lot of it is tied to the drug problem we have in the city. And there are some excellent programs that are trying to get underway, and Dr. Maloney, for one, has started a program of rehab that seems to be making some success. We also have neighborhood watch groups that are starting up. I was coming home one time from a construction job, and my house was broken into, and I got a call almost immediately. Somebody had discovered who had taken the stuff from my house. And I went over and talked to the person, and it was the last time they bothered people in that neighborhood. We also have a good program starting with the city police to try to integrate. I would like police walk on the street and know the people in the neighborhood.
DJ Thine.
I think accountability and power to the police force is a good start. I think making sure that we are putting our funds that go to the police force are being used in the most efficient and appropriate manner. We can potentially utilize more traffic on the feet and less in the office, in the building. We need to be protected, and in order to have that, the people in the office pushing the pencils, they just can't do that. We need people that can actually be on the street with us, be making us safe. I have gotten to the point where I've lost count of how many things have been stolen or broken in my yards. I know that I am still waiting 3 years later for them to press charges on a fraud case, which went through the small claims course, and I've already got a lien on their property. It's already been done. They admitted to it, and the police just act like they're powerless. And we need to make sure that the police know they're powerful, and we need the people that are committing the crimes to know they're powerful to help prevent this from happening, because right now they think they get away with it.
Thank you. Jason Young.
I met with Chief Stevenson before I started my campaign and asked him what he thought of this issue. We do have an opioid problem in the city that's driving a lot of the property crimes. But the chief very rightly pointed out that if we were to wave a magic wand and get rid of the opioids, a lot of the behavior would remain, a lot of the issues would remain. Those issues are caused by poverty, by other causes, not just by opioids. And so he outlined a vision of community. I think that's really the start of something wonderful. Yes, the police need power, the police need to go out and enforce the law, but as we've seen, our courts are our courts, and we don't have the power in council to address that. What we do have the power to address is fostering a sense of inclusion and community in our city.
Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Thank you. In 2015, we had 429 reported break-and enters. In 2016, we had 601. That's a rise of 40% in 1 year. Yes, it is due to drug use. Yes, it is due to poverty. Yes, it's due to homelessness. What needs to happen, I believe, is a task force. So it's not anyone's fault, it's not anyone's responsibility. We have to bring community partners together to work towards a solution. That includes justice, that includes our law enforcement, that includes addiction counselors, that includes people in the health sector, people that are working in social services. We have to look at the problem not just from the point of how many break-and-enters are there, but why are they happening? What are they taking? And trying to create a solution so that people aren't resorting to that type, and definitely coming together as a community and neighbors watching out for each other, I think is another key piece.
Thank you. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Luc Dufour.
In my experience, I think that consequences have been more of a factor rather than enforcement. I think that that's part of the difficulty that's faced by City Council and by our city police, is that often it's the same people committing the same property crimes in the same neighborhoods, and they just frankly don't care about the level of the consequences that are available to them at this point. And I think that that's something City Council needs to advocate for.
I'll now invite question 5 for our Ward 2 candidates.
Opioid addiction represents a significant public health crisis in Sault Ste. Marie. What will you do about it?
We'll start with Sam Sestero.
Again, I mentioned earlier that I would be supportive, and I would be a liaison between the different groups when they come to council asking for money, I would be very supportive in, at least listening to their concerns. Council, we don't have the power to do everything that you want us to do. We can listen and we can be an advocate. We can offer our ideas, we can donate and volunteer our time, but there's agencies out there that are paid to do this. That's their living. So they come to us, we become the filter, we become the liaison, and we present it to council. Then the decision's made by the other 9 individuals in that room.
Thank you. Ted Halen.
Yes, we do have a problem, and part of the solution, as I stated earlier, is the attitude of the police, where they're trying to focus on the people that have the problems and direct them into some sort of rehab program. And there are a lot of people that are taking it up. We also have a problem with overdoses, and I would like to see that the all-night restaurants would have the naloxone kits so that people aren't falling asleep in an alley or somewhere and stop breathing. We need coordination with every one of the all-night restaurants, because nobody wants to be a magnet for the rest of the city with this type of a problem. We have to coordinate it with all of them at once, and then they would all be able to participate.
Thank you. DJ Thine.
Thank you. I think that we need to start with long-term addiction centers. These people, they're going to detox, or maybe not even going there, and then they're back out. They're not getting the help they require. And we're not going to save them all, but anybody we can save is better than where we're going right now. We are literally snowballing, and it is getting so bad. And as somebody who has businesses and homes downtown, I haven't seen it as bad as it is. I've had my 3- and 4-year-old girl, I had to bring them out in my yard at my business and show them a broken crack pipe. I've had to show them used needles, and I didn't know what else to do with them other than to show them what these are and to make sure that they know not to touch these things. That shouldn't be happening, but it's gonna happen because we can't make everybody be responsible. What we can do is try to advocate to get the long-term facilities to help these people out and do the best we can. I believe that we've had a substantial overuse of Narcan, and these people are killing themselves over and over again. The only way to help them is to get them actual...
Thank you. Jason Young.
Yeah, I'll echo DJ's sentiment there. I think that long-term care facilities in the city would go a long way to helping with this issue. I think we have to approach this with compassion and to make whatever resources available we can. We were asked at the library a couple of evenings ago about a needle exchange or a safe injection site or any number of other things that you hear in the news. And while I'm not going to leap out and advocate for any specific thing at the moment, what I will say is that the more eyes we have on this issue, the more people that are involved, the more hands that are outstretched to help people, the more results we're going to see. If the last thing somebody who's going to stick a needle in their arm sees is somebody reaching out to help them, that might be the day they stop.
Thank you. Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Thank you. In 2016, we had 15 deaths due to opioid overdose in all of Algoma District, which is 113,000 population. As City Council, as with crime prevention to combat the opioid addiction, that is a combined task force. And as City Council, we can advocate for that. We can get those people around the table to look for solutions, because our opioid addiction and our crime rates are all interconnected. And it's the same people that will be at the same table having those discussions, just like when Councillor Myers and Butland and we did the graffiti committee project, and Graffiti Reframed came out of that. We saw revitalization in a neighborhood. So City Council, we can make those committees happen, we can strike those committees, and that is definitely the approach in combating our opioid addiction. We do have the Rapid Access Medicine Clinic now on East Street, which was from a Sudbury model through the lens. So there is a place for people to go for help, but there definitely is enough. However, I've seen only do so much by
Thank you. Luc Dufour.
I think that opiate addiction is a huge problem in Sault Ste. Marie. I think it's a huge problem all across North America. As I've examined how other cities and how other countries have tackled the problem, I think that the data shows pretty clearly that long-term residential care facilities is the best way in order to cure people from their opiate addiction. Unfortunately, it's also the most expensive way, and it's a way that the city council is not able to do. It is able to advocate for it, but that would be a provincial initiative and a provincial task force. I think that the city has actually done a pretty good job in putting in the short-term solutions that are recommended in having the availability of needle exchanges in Narcan and naloxone, and I support especially the firefighters continuing to carry that so that overdoses aren't an undue burden on our ambulances.
We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Sam Sestero.
A lot of people were disappointed when they saw the W5 documentary a few months back. If we can change the course of Sault Ste. Marie, my past career was in television. Some of those people that produced the documentary, I know. I can get them back here and paint a success story for Sault Ste. Marie. So we just need to work together to find the solution first. Then I'll advocate for them to come back and say that we're not as bad.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to invite the sixth and final question from our Algoma University students for our Ward 2 candidates.
To get around the city, cars, trucks, buses, and bicycles need good roads. What are your planning priorities for the city's roadways? Further, what will you do to improve public transit?
Thank you very much. We'll begin with Ted Halen.
That's Ted Halen. I'm number 4 on the ballot. We have huge expenditures in roadways and repairs. The city has not done proper patching using dry pack instead of sealing the cracks. If you drive around the city, they've done a marvelous job of filling a lot of the potholes, but they're not sealing all the cracks. And the cracks get under the road, and the vehicles will bust them up. Also, we should put a focus on public transit, because public transit means that you have less congestion on the streets, you have less traffic problems, you have fewer parking lots that you have to maintain, and less snow plowing in these parking lots. You've got less wear and tear on the roads. Thank you.
Thank you. DJ Thine.
Public transportation's taken a huge hit in the last couple of years. They've cut down the amount of runs they're doing. They've cut down the places that they're accessing. They have increased their wages, or their fees, I guess I should say. It's making it very hard. And again, as a taxi driver, I had to literally take people from far out as Gooley over to the Pine at the bottom of Wellington for a 4-hour shift, and half of their money was going to their babysitter, and the other half was coming to the cab just so they could keep their job. I think making it affordable, maybe cutting back to an hourly schedule more throughout the week, and making sure that we don't cut it out so early on a Sunday. These are things that, as a council, we have to have our committees take a look at, but I think that we can do much better with what we've done so far as the transportation situation goes. A lot of us businesses, we depend on people being able to come, whether it be the people who are patroning or our staff. They have to be able to get to go home and come to work.
Thank you. Jason Young.
I think that a visionary revamp of our public transit system is in order. I am by no means an expert on public transit systems. However, there has to be something better than empty 40-foot buses driving around in circles. I think that's well within the council's power to get a committee together and to look at that, to look at partnerships with organizations and things that we've not looked at before. Partnerships with electronic dispatch, with electric vehicles, visionary, something completely different. In terms of roads, I'm not a civil engineer, but I know we have a civil engineering program at Sault College. Perhaps there's a way we can partner with Sault College to get eyes on the problem. And we need to improve our bike lanes. We need to expand that. The Bay Street project is an excellent, excellent way to do that.
Thank you. Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Thank you. I lived through the bus system. When I was in university here, I lived on the Drive, and I had to walk down to Queen Street by the hospitals, and Riverside ran every hour on the hour. So most of the time I walked. So because of the bus system, I got in much better shape. But that's the reality. I was out canvassing on Woodward, and this woman stopped me and said, "What time is it?" And it was a Sunday, and she had missed her bus. She was at Our Lady of Good Counsel for what they call a friendship meal, and she lived on Rankin. And she said, "Well, my next bus isn't for an hour." And I was finishing up. I said, "I'm going to give you a ride home." So there is definitely a situation with our busing. We have to look at other like communities. How does Sudbury deal with their buses? How does Sarnia deal with their buses? Windsor, where I lived for 15 years. And with infrastructure, we have to constantly maintain our infrastructure. That's not even something that can be questioned. We have to maintain our roads and our walkways and our bike trails.
Thank you. Luc Dufour.
I think the big difficulty with transit and our roadways is just how large our city is. A lot of people don't realize that for our city of our population, we actually have some of the highest lengths of roadways out of any other city in Ontario. And what that does is it presents us with a really specific challenge, and that's how do you spread a certain amount of money that you can pull out of the tax base further and further across a larger geographic area. One of the ways that I think we solve that is by coalescing our transit system. I think that our transit system, because it's only running once an hour, it's very unusable for people. I think by having it run every half hour between Algoma University, Sault College, and the downtown, and hopefully having a ride-hailing app to service some of the outer regions of the city, I think that would make a big difference.
Thank you. Sam Sestero.
As I mentioned earlier, people below the poverty line should be given a discounted rate, if not free. Let's be a leader in this, and possibly other communities will join us. A bus going down the street that's empty isn't doing anybody any favors. So if somebody has to choose between eating that day or taking public transit twice, that decision's easy. I will continue to support the education, the enforcement, the engineering departments, and the benefits that come from the cycling industry, like sales and tourism. I will be the advocate for those organizations. We also need to promote community health with Algoma Public Health. If you're riding to work, you're de-stressing on the way home.
Thank you. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Ted Halen.
Windsor was mentioned. I was in Windsor and I needed to use the transit system. I found out that all the people on the transit commission in Windsor, none of them rode the bus. And there was this big disconnect between the riders and the ones who were managing it. We need bus riders to be part of the solution. Instead of, and also not bringing in experts from out of town. We have experts right here. All the bus drivers are expert on what the transit system means.
Thank you. At this point, we invite closing remarks from our candidates. You each have 1 minute, and we'll begin with DJ Thine.
Thank you. So I think that the most important thing out of all this tonight is that we need to work together with the other like-minded organizations within the city that are trying to achieve the same goal that we all want. We all want a better city. We all want a city where our kids are proud to grow up into, one that they're not feeling forced to stay in, but that they're proud to be in, and they want to grow up and say, hey, no, I want to live here forever. This is what I want. I think that we can do that if we work together, whether it be with the Downtown Association or any other like-minded group throughout the entire city. They just might be one of the bigger ones. We can make this happen. I will fight for you. I will do anything I can to at least direct your attention to the council and to the authorities that it requires. I believe that through accountability, through boosting tourism, a small corporate tax break, which will give us more sustainability and more jobs in the long run, and trying to tackle the drug problem, because what we're doing right now is not working, that we can do this.
Thank you. Jason Young.
In closing, I'd like to thank all my fellow candidates for bringing the best of Ward 2 to the table. After all the events and debates and conversations we've shared, it's really a shame I can't vote for all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody on this stage is here for the right reasons, and whoever you choose to vote for truly deserves your vote. I spoke in my opening about community. In spite of our shortcomings, Sault Ste. Marie is a fantastic place. We have industry, tourism, art, music, theater, dance. We have markets and festivals and education and healthcare. But best of all, we have everyone here tonight, concerned citizens who are taking action to build a better future. Every community faces challenges. My hope is that together we can make a difference in our city. There are certainties. In 4 years, we'll still have challenges, and there'll still be room for improvement, but maybe, just maybe, we'll have something to celebrate too. I want to be a part of a council that does something worth celebrating.
Thank you. Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Thank you, Jason. For about 25 years, I've worked in the charitable sector and I've run charities, so I believe in transparency, accountability, due diligence, and advocacy. Making a difference has always been my long-running career goal. And I even found that when I owned a small business on Queen Street, that my heart wasn't really into it because it was just for profit and I wasn't creating some sort of positive impact to my community. I think that some great things are happening in this city, otherwise I wouldn't be raising my family here. I'm proud mother of 3 sons, all of whom are here. My 25-year-old just moved back. So you've got a youth that came back, which is good and bad because he's in my basement. But I think that all of you really just need to go out and vote. On October 22nd, make your stance. Whoever you vote for, I just want to see amazing amounts of people at the polls. And I would like to thank Algoma University and the local science department and City Day. And my candidates.
Thank you. Luke Dufour.
Thank you. Over the last 5 weeks in Ward 2, I have knocked on thousands of doors. I've heard from many of you who are concerned about property crime, a struggling downtown, and a city budget that is stretched thin. You want a councillor who has the energy and the experience to invest in growth without lowering the services that you've come to rely on. I'm here tonight to ask you to put me to work at City Hall. Sault Ste. Marie needs councillors at the table who want to work hard to expand our population, to attract good jobs, and to exercise wisdom with our resources. On October 22nd, I'm asking for your vote. Vote for Luke Dufour. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sam Sestero.
I wish Lou Turco was here tonight. I prepared a lot on his past performance, not only the last 4 years, but the last 18 years. Lou Turco has the most absences of any candidate that's running. Lou Turco has the least amount of motions with 5 in 4 years, and 2 of them are the same. Matthew Schumacher has 150. So you see who's trying and who's not. What troubles me is that none of the other councillors even wanted him to be their seconder on motions. So to me, that means he's difficult to work with. This is not a career, it's a civic duty. It will take a person off the street with no experience about 2 years to feel comfortable in their role. The residents don't have that luxury. I can seamlessly enter the role of a city councillor and keep the momentum moving forward.
Thank you. Ted Halen.
We've got a lot of ideas coming from the front of the room tonight. It's supposed to be a 4-year term. The problems are going to be identified by the people here in the next 4 years. You have to have a way of bringing things to council. You have to have an open council. The one person who is on council now in Ward 2 is not here. I've been to 3 debates. He's absent himself from every one of them. The 6 people here, why do we have 7 people running in this ward? Because we notice there's a problem here. And the responsiveness in council isn't there. We need someone who, like myself, am a proven fighter. I'll argue on your behalf, and I'll make sure that your issues are addressed. but you have a choice of 6 other candidates. And I hope that you use your vote to elect 2 from these 6.
Thank you. On behalf of Algoma University, Sault Today, and Shaw TV, I would like to thank our candidates for taking part in this debate. We wish each of you the best in the remaining campaign period. On behalf of Algoma University, I'd like to thank our partners this evening, Shaw Television and its staff and volunteers who are here to televise tonight's debate, Sault Today for helping to organize the debate, collect questions from the public, and stream tonight's event online, Algoma University students of Political Science and Law and Justice for asking the questions tonight, Mio's Furniture Fashions for supplying the stage furniture. Finally, we would like to thank everyone here in Shingwalk Auditorium at Algoma University or viewing at home for joining us. We hope that this discussion has helped better inform you about each of the candidates and their respective platforms. We encourage all eligible voters to exercise their democratic right on October 22 and have their voices heard in Sault Ste. Marie's municipal election. Thank you and good night.